you.
Sure. All right, let's get started then. Welcome to the sixth OCN Open Developer Call, but the first one of 2021.
Yay.
Yeah, as you can see, here's everyone on the call. Myself, we have Ajon, we have Chris, Mika, and Adam. So the plan for today is to go over a couple of announcements. I would like to chat about OCN Notary specification, and then anything else that folks would like to talk about. I would say it's a pretty light agenda, so if there's anything else that you'd like to add, please do so. If not, we should be able to get through it rather quickly. So the first thing is that the OCN node 1.1 .2 was released. Yeah, sorry, that OC2 there is a typo. And it was a small bug fix regarding the self healing check at the start of the OCN node startup that was preventing one of the users of the OCN node from starting because he had his behind an application gateway. So that has been changed. I just want to mention that I think it was a good example of someone outside of the core team, if you will, contributing a fix. The other announcement is that there's an OCN service Confluence page that Chris created in December regarding how to add an OCN service and some information about them. Do you want to add anything on this, Chris?
No, not really. Thanks for introducing it. But yeah, it's basically explaining everything around what an OCN service is and what the service interface is and what the permissions are and where you can find them, just to help people out understanding, what we mean with all of that. And yeah, also feel free if anyone has some feedback how to improve it. Happy to work on that and improve it further. Yeah.
Okay, great. That quickly covers the announcements, and then on to the development topic of the OCN Notary specification. This is something that a member in the community channel brought up. He was looking to use the OCN Notary in a .NET C# environment, and he was wondering if we had a specification for the OCN Notary that he could use, presumably to either implement an OCN Notary with C# or otherwise create an OCN signature that conformed to the specification. So yeah, I think it would be worth doing. I think it would be valuable for additional implementations, like say a C# implementation, or even just for development. I think over the past few months, we've been talking about the next steps for the OCN, and I think they involve potentially changes to the OCN Notary. For instance, we've talked quite a bit about this idea of a history API. So I think having a specification could help not only implementations of the OCN Notary, but just development of the Notary itself and therefore the OCN overall. So then I said that it should include, the specification should include the Notary API and obviously the signature specification. I suppose by Notary API, maybe I meant the operations that should, that one should be able to perform on the signature. Anything else? Any thoughts so far before we get into?
We should have a test, a battery of tests, so that you can run against your implementation to verify if it's the same thing as the other implementation. I'm not talking about correctness, but simply about same thing. so that everyone understands the same thing. And this would then ensure that when you sign something, it will be accepted by your counterpart and by the OCN node.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, I had that on the slide here as test cases as an approach. I was wondering if that is almost a specification in and of itself. Like, would that be good enough?
I think it's fair to have it as part of the specification. We actually already have this because we have the JavaScript and the JVM library. There is already a compatibility test that both of them use. And just specifying that then in writing could just be the easy approach.
Okay. And that those tests then check for the format of the signature, for instance. You're saying we would extract what those tests are checking for into a specification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's especially important if you run this thing on a Windows environment that maybe does not use Unicode, but uses Latin encoding, and this kind of issues might arise that you did everything in the same way, but your signature is not accepted.
Yeah. Yeah, so this we're not doing. We can expand upon it, obviously. We should. Because already there's like, there have been issues that have arisen due to this sort of thing.
So would you, if we have these tests, would you extract the specification into another document? Or would it be possible to document the tests themselves and then auto-generate a document, perhaps from that documentation or something of the sort?
We can try out the running specification approach that is done with Cucumber. So the Cucumber tests are really easy to read because they are given then, given when then syntax, and you can add comments in between and explain whatever you do and the parameters you give, etc. And then the implementation of the test is then something that is separate. So you have the description of the test run with descriptions in English, and it's really natural language. And then the actual implementation of the test, which is code. I think this wouldn't make sense. I don't know. Adam, you have probably more experience than I do with Cucumber.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Obviously, it's then up to whoever is implementing the notary, if they just want to use it internally or if they want to publish this to obviously implement the test. But yeah, I think that's a good approach.
Okay, I agree. That sounds good to me. So the Cucumber specifications live, they're not the test, but they're written kind of beside the tests, and then the tests are implemented. They're kind of a specification for tests. Am I understanding that?
Correct.
Okay.
But the nice thing is, in the case of the notary, you could say, when you hash this value, this input, you expect this output. And this is then hard-coded in the test.
Right. All right. Any thoughts from anyone on how this prioritizes relative to other work that we've talked about? I see this as being valuable because it, as I mentioned earlier, facilitates the development of the OCN notary. So I think this could be worth doing perhaps next in terms of open source development.
Yeah, especially when someone else wants to contribute in that sense, right?
Mhm.
As far as I understood him correctly, he wants to write it. He just needs the specification, right?
Mm.
Mm.
Right. All right. Well, I think that's some good discussion on it. I'll open an issue then on the OCN Notary with these thoughts for someone to pick up at some point.
It could also be possible to create a specification for the actual node interface as well. So how the nodes communicate, because yeah, that could also incentivize innovation. I don't know, people might want to create their own custom nodes, or they see, oh, this doesn't make sense with the current OCN node. Something can be improved there. So maybe it makes sense to do both of them. And the OCN node specification would not be too big. It would be, there's a few endpoints that are used, but having that in writing and detail would be beneficial, I think.
Right. Yeah, that sounds so. That could be a similar issue, but a separate issue then on the OCN node repository, for instance.
Yeah.
Sure. I can create that one as well then.
If possible in future, we could make a video tutorial also for better understanding.
Okay. You mean a tutorial that walks through the specification or how to use? Okay. All right. I can mention that as a suggestion in the issue. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add for this item, this OCN Notary specification. So I will move it along then. Yeah, I just wanted to mention the resources that we've mentioned in the past, but of course they're always good to look at. There's the docs. We've had some folks joining the Slack channel recently. Our repositories are available, and there's we'll have the next community call next month. Is there anything you want to add to that, Chris?
No, that's fine. Thanks for bringing it up again. Yeah, especially the Slack channel is becoming more and more active. That's quite nice. I'm also seeing some contributions from outside. That's yeah, really cool.
I agree.
So I invite everyone, yeah, also watching this to join the Slack channel if, yeah, working with the OCN. Yeah, it's a growing community.
I agree. Great point. All right, I'll open the floor for any other topics. And if not, we can keep this meeting short and sweet.
Mhm.
All right.
Nice.
Till next time.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye,
Have a good
guys.
day.